Hello, my name is Manex Ibar. I'm a spiritual guide for the last 20 years, bringing healing and consciousness to people from around the world, trying to lift the world, trying to lift people to understand their unique purpose, their unique function, and to liberate the gift that is within them. Today I wanted to speak about wisdom systems. There's a lot of different systems out there that help us understand who we are. And I think today it's so important for people to find the wisdom system that works for them so that they can truly discover their own uniqueness, their functionality, their mechanics, their consciousness, so that they can better use what's available to them and really enable and liberate the gift that is within them and offer it to the world, and in that, make the world a better place. I think a lot of us go through school and we never learn about ourselves. We learn about history, we learn about math, we learn about how to communicate and grammar and English or whatever your language is. You learn all sorts of things about the external. You learn about how things kind of work in the world, in the society and the culture that you live in. But none of us go to school to learn about ourselves, about who we are. And that's what's made this incredible, huge industry, right? This wellness industry, to feel better, to understand ourselves better. It's all about raising our awareness, raising our consciousness. And it's amazingly needed because we're in a world where the individual is the key, and understanding yourself, understanding how you work, understanding your unique qualities and behavioral traits and your innate consciousness that is unique and different, enables you to actually empower yourself, to express yourself, and to manifest yourself in harmony with nature, in harmony with the universe. And this is the point of being here, being alive. It's not to surrender yourself to the cultural programming or basically the society's desires for you. We're here to be individuals. We're here to be uniquely us. And then you can give yourself to making your community better, your neighborhood, your state, your country. But you have to honor your being. And this is the big shift that's going on today, is that, before when we were tribal and then we became agricultural, we always had this thing where as a group, we would survive better. And therefore we would take down our individual needs, in a sense, to be served by the community, and that would help the community thrive and therefore the individual thrive, because we needed that. Today we're in a world where that's no longer the case. The individual needs to be brought back to the center because the individual is what needs to be truly understood, honored, and expressed uniquely out into the world. That's the strength of today, is really having empowered individuals that can liberate their genius to solve global issues. And so I wanted to talk about wisdom systems because there's a lot of them out there today, and a lot of people are still in this weird belief system of them rather than really understand them as a unique tool to really help liberate their genius. I mean, that's one thing that these wisdom systems do. They help you understand you, and so that you can become wiser about being you. And I think most of spirituality, if it's not, doing that, basically helping you become you, and then therefore becoming more liberated, more heartful, and full of gratitude and faith, then it's failing you. And in order to do that, it needs to be practical to a certain degree of empowering you. And I think in our society today, most of us are still in this victim consciousness where we blame and complain about what others are doing to us to prevent us from actually becoming very free and empowered and able to manifest our true essence, and the idea that there's a limited amount of resources is not true. We continuously discover new ways, new resources, new water, new this, new that. There's a complete abundance of everything. And the thinking of the limited aspect of resources makes us very competitive rather than encouraging each other to find our own uniqueness and express it out into the world. And that we have the support of the universe, of this planet, of resources to actually achieve that and to really be fully in joy and in happiness, in success, to impact the world as we are made, So what are these wisdom systems? Well, probably the most famous and the most brainwashed, or the most whitewashed, let's say, or the one that's been diluted is astrology, where you can find that in your, newspapers and magazines and all over the internet. What is your astrologic sign? And you have the kind of weekly, daily, monthly, general, normalized kind of paragraph. Yet, when you really get deep into astrology and you get somebody who's been studying it for 25 years and you get a personalized reading from that person, you'll find out that astrology actually has incredible depth of describing your characteristics. And so astrology is one of the base aspects. And it's interesting that, the church really was against astrology for one big thing, is that there is basically this idea that free will goes away. And this disturbs our culture so much, when actually there's a relief there where your free will to align yourself to your being is what you're here for. The fact that Carl Jung talked about, destiny is there and your free will can screw it up, but in the end, destiny is going to win and it's going to pull you by the hair to your destiny. So really understanding who you are, really understanding your astrology, your influence of the planets, your understanding of how that plays with your emotions, your mind, your gifts of connection, your gifts of spiritual understanding of your subconscious mind and how it works and what are the patterns and the belief systems and behaviors. It's so valuable, for you to know that. And astrology is one of those systems. And unfortunately, there is a lot of different astrologers out there that don't really have the depth of knowledge. And on top of it, there's been a lot of manipulation in astrology and even some confusion where we talk about 12 signs or 13 signs and this and that. And, finding a really good astrologer is pretty mind-blowing. And so I would definitely strongly recommend doing that. And that's kind of like one of the starting points. And it really does describe a very interesting patterns that are going on at different times. Meaning, for example, Mercury has a very fast turnaround, like it does in terms of its rotations and influence. The moon also much faster, Venus somewhat. And then other planets like Pluto and Neptune are much longer, more generational kind of patterning and influence. So you get to start seeing the bigger picture also, rather than just how you are as an individual. You kind of have this very wide view of a generational influence, and then you can get into your specific uniqueness and individuality, which is really amazing. And one of the things that brings you deeply into your individuality as a wisdom system is called human design. Human design is incredible for getting really deep into the intricacies of the mechanics of consciousness and form. Meaning, consciousness is, but bringing consciousness into form is what actually activates consciousness's potential. And so we each have these bodies, and our consciousness is all unity consciousness to a certain degree. And then it's our unique body that brings that consciousness into a unique form, a unique perspective, a unique genetics, a unique way of expressing itself into the world, so that the world can know that perspective of source, of the divine, of the unity, right? And so that's the game. We keep incarnating to have a unique view of source, which is ever expanding, which is quite interesting. And so human design is incredible. It talks about many things that other systems haven't, such as the fact that we've moved from a 7-centered being to a 9-centered being, that there's a massive consciousness shift from that, and that before that we were 5-centered beings, very much like mammals, and that there's this evolution between the nomadic and then the agricultural and now the individualized emotional consciousness and spiritual consciousness that's going on with this new age upon us. And perhaps the coronavirus is even helping. I mean, in the human design, he talks about all of that as being part of the whole programming, you know, the viruses and the bugs and the diseases and the chemicals all helping us transmute the old into a new whole process. And even the whole climate change aspect is part of the Earth's own evolution as we as species evolve, and therefore there's some species that disappear and new species arriving, and we're discovering new species, which is pretty wild. And so human design talks about these 9 centers that are vital to our consciousness. They're kind of like the description of what humans go for in terms of awareness. We have 9 energy conscious centers. The root, which is all about the physical world. We have the generator, or the sacral, which is all about hormonal sexual drive and the sexual organs and the desire of life and the life force, the creative life force. Then to the side of that, we have actually the instinctual knowledge, the instinctual now intelligence. You know, what is now? What is here now? And that instinct of survival. And then we have the emotional aspects, the whole passion, the whole dopamine system. Then we have the ego, the I will, I am, I willfully do things. And so that's interesting, the willpower and our own empowerment or not, you know, the self-confidence or not. And then the identity of the heart, our direction in life, the real identity of your being through destiny that you discover in going through life, meeting love. And that's where the love pulls us into our direction. And then the throat, the expression, the manifestation, the metabolic rate of processing information and expressing it out. And then the mind, and then the subconscious mind. You know, so 9 levels of awareness that as humans we get to play with and commune with the other. Instead of the big shift between 7 centers and 9 centers, is the 7 centers was really about survival and the strategy for survival, where now we have this idea of, you know, communing with the other, which is really wonderful. Because when you get to understand the other's perspective, your own perspective shifts, opens up, and is liberated to understand your uniqueness. And so the whole communing and how together we can do incredible things while still having your own uniqueness shine. And you can think of a band, a rock and roll band, that really showed us that. You know, there is 5 guys in a band. Each of them have unique individual characteristics. Some of them have even, you know, broken up and then played uniquely and individually. Like some of the Beatles and George Harrison and John Lennon all like did their own thing, but like together they were this other force, this other spirit in a way that touched, you know, billions of people. The Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, I mean, you just go on. And together, this force of being together, these unique individuals being together, creates this impact of real amazing beauty. And this is what we're really going for now. As you understand your uniqueness, as you are the bass player and you understand how to play the bass really well, or the drummer and this and that, then together you can play your gift, offer it to the group, and then the group can become something new that you as an individual couldn't. So human design talks about these 9 centers. They talk about 64 different genetic channels, in a sense, or genetic traits, you know, and 36 channels actually, and 12 different profiles. And, you know, it's fascinating. These channels are different traits that each of us have as part of the human experience. There's 64 of them, and you're going to have some of them that are activated so that they're consistently being triggered within you, and others are triggered by the external meeting of others that have those different traits active, and so that you get to experience all of the traits at different times. And it's part of the human experience. It kind of gives you a really beautiful look at what the human experience is. And the channels are deeper traits. It's when two gates, two genes in a way, are connecting, and they create a whole system of genetic function that really becomes powerful as a unique gift that you have and that you're here to carry in your unique way. And then the 12 profiles is kind of like a coat around you that gives you a certain way of interacting with the world. But incredible. Get a reading, get your human design. You can go to jovianarchive.com or mybodygraph.com. The My Body Graph, you go in there, it's free. You get your chart, you can look at it, and then slowly you get some of the descriptions. Otherwise, you find a person that can do a reading, and it's really amazing. Another wisdom system is called the Sphinx Code. And the Sphinx Code, it's amazing. The Sphinx is really kind of like a compass, like it's a directional compass always showing Orion, wherever the earth is. And in that, this is a system that helps you, like a compass, navigate your subconscious patterns through archetypes. And so you really understand bigger influences that are in your subconscious that help you understand certain traits and behaviors and belief systems and symptoms that are deep within your structure. And once you really understand your map, your architectural map of archetypes, and you see your soul and your body, and you see your transcendental line, it really helps you activate your uniqueness and accept yourself deeply for who you are. And you can kind of see the story or the painting of the unique character that you are as we're playing with these 22 different archetypes in many different ways in 16 different places, in a sense. And each of the places that these archetypes fit in have a whole role, from the masculine to the feminine, to your behavioral traits. It even goes into your karma. It goes into past lives. It goes into your innate essence, your innate gift. It goes into your ego's perspective and wounds, and how to transmute that ego's perspective to then see yourself more clearly rather than from a wounded state. And then it really gives you this incredible depth of harmonization, like what to do, to harmonize yourself, to get out of the traps of victimizations, the traps of the wounds that you and all of us carry in unique ways. We all have had parenting, wherever you are, rich, poor, Africa, America, like we all have a program of a masculine and a feminine, and understanding that programming is so vital to get out of the way of basically our wounds, so that our archetypes can dance together in harmony and create the beautiful uniqueness that we are. So it's quite vital and very interesting to understand this. And it's a beautiful system because it's very image related. You immediately see the archetypes and you can intuitively connect to them, and the story of each of the archetype plays out in the description of what the archetype represents. And so it's playing with the subconscious language and the visual language of art that we're all tapped into naturally. So it's quite a beautiful system. The enneagrams are quite interesting. There's 9 of them. Numerology, also quite interesting. Anyways, there's just so many different wisdom systems out there that can help you. And then there's some systems that are very practical, like Lifebook, that helps you organize your life in 12 different categories of your life. And you individually need to fill out what you feel within those categories and what you want and what you desire and what your soul basically is speaking of. And in that, you gain tremendous clarity of your uniqueness, of your unique ambitions, your unique dreams, your unique vision of what you think life is. So I strongly encourage people to do their work by first understanding themselves through the different wisdom systems. And what's even more interesting is to actually go through several of them. And one of them that I skipped is Gene Keys. Gene Keys is an extension of your human design. It's using the same base of calculations, but it's interpreted it very differently. And there's even this other system that's using the Gene Keys that's called the Akasha or Akasha Game, .com, I believe. And all these systems, if you do them all in a way, it is really fascinating because they'll have different ways of describing in a way the same thing, which is your essence, and how your essence can manifest into the world harmonically or in harmony with the universe. It's almost like you get to learn what instrument you are, and you get to then refine the use of your own instrument so that you can go and play in the main symphony of the universe through attunement and harmonization. And that's when, the symphony of the universe starts really singing through you. It's quite a blessing. It's quite a gift, and it is ecstatic. And this is the goal. And so you'll see as you do several readings of these systems that they point to very similar aspects for you. And so that has consequences of perhaps shifting your perception of yourself and really understanding what the work is. I think Sphinx Code is quite amazing for that because it really points to your shadow work and what you really need to work on to transmute. And it's very specific so that you can get to your work, to really transform the shadow, accept it, integrate it, and then use it as part of your gift. And that's the key. It's the first step in becoming aware. It's the first step in truly understanding yourself. It's the first step also when you start guiding others is to have a system so that you can guide people. And so, anybody who's interested in guiding others, you definitely need your intuition. You definitely need to be very clear about who you are so that you also, when you take on the energy of the other, you understand what's yours and what's theirs. That's really, really important. And then, you're able to describe and guide and bring people into the awareness of themselves rather than just your own projections. It's actually being guided by a system that has been validated by, many, many years of research and knowledge and verification. The fact that astrology is thousands and thousands of years old is quite important. The whole Mayan calendar is another system, and like how to do a reading with that. It's thousands of years old. The I Ching, incredible Chinese system that, can really help in understanding things. And so with a lot of these, sometimes you get the idea of the divination. So it's to predict the future or predict the moment. And that's one way of using it. But the real way is to get into your individual, unique imprint and description so that you can go deep into understanding you. And I think that's the real point. Understand yourself. As Plato said, know thyself. And everything else comes from that. So that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope you find several wisdom systems for you so you get to go deeper. And perhaps I'll talk about each of them a little bit more in depth in future episodes. For now, enjoy your day, enjoy where you are, and sending you love and blessings. Love and blessings.